Okay, now the first thing we're going to do is to just sketch out on the base here where our main construction pieces are going to go. This does not have to be exact by any stretch of the imagination. Okay, but the main cabin is about 5 inches by about 3 inches. I'm doing this in pencil just in case I want to change it. And it's so nice now that I have something I can draw with that isn't actually a fingernail. Okay, so our first, just to very roughly, this isn't even square, show where it's going to be, and then there's about a 4-inch porch on it that's about 2 inches deep, like that. So that's where our cabin's going to actually sit. We also have somewhere over in this corner about a, let's see, 1.5 inches square. That'd be 6 feet by 6 feet. This is where the outhouse goes. Okay, now in this corner is going to be our corner of the lake. So it would actually be something like that. That would be where the edge would go. Now the plan is to have a canoe that sits here. So this is going to be your gravelly piece. And over here in this corner is going to be where we plant bulrushes. So your bulrushes are going to fit along there. Now actually what I'm going to do is cut it like that, okay, because we are going to put a nest in here. And this has to be deeper. This has to be shallower. It's going to slope up from the bottom. So if you can tell from all of that, and shorelines are not straight, so you don't even have to worry about making a straight cut. Okay, also in here there's going to be a picnic table, fire pit, and some other various things around here. Now don't worry about drawing all over this because you're going to paint it almost immediately. Okay, so starting with our knife, all you have to do is cut through the top surface. Now you see what I'm doing? I'm just pressing the knife in just to cut the top plastic surface, sort of around the outline. Now don't be too fussy about this because it really doesn't matter all that much, as long as you get it roughly where you want your lake edge to be. Now you'll find as you start trying to remove this, oh, this is the absolute wrong way to do it. Never take a sharp tool towards your hand, or you're going to end up planting it right in your hand, and then we've got a big problem. So try and get your pieces away from you. It's easiest to start from the corner where you've actually cut it and just lift it up. You will notice that as I'm doing this, I'm putting little dents in the thing side here, but don't worry about that either, because that's all going to be covered up by your aluminum foil base that you're going to put in. You can see this kind of comes up in chunks. See, I'm using kind of a jiggly movement here. Makes it less likely that your tool's going to slip. I've still got my hand in the wrong place. Try and keep your... this is just something I've done over the years. I always keep my hand in the wrong place. And when I take classes from people like, well, Anne High, where you're using very sharp carving tools, she's always yelling at me to move my hand. So do as I say, not as I do. Okay. Be careful as you're cutting down towards the edge that you don't actually nick this edge. See this edge along here? You want the plastic base to stay in place. Now, something else you can do when it starts to get hard to get your pieces loose, just take your utility knife and cut some slots into the remaining. You'll find it makes it easier to get hold of. Various pieces. See how it snaps it where you've got the line cut. Actually, this always reminds me of fingernails on a blackboard. I really dislike the sound of cutting through this kind of foam. However, we do have to cut a few more slots here. A bit easier. Now you see this is coming out a very rough texture. For other purposes, you could make it smooth if you wanted to, but this is a lake for heaven's sake, so we don't want it too smooth. For other applications, for example, if you were going to use your gator board for a wall, and you wanted to put a window in it, you could clean it out to the point that this was absolutely smooth and flat on the bottom. Okay. Well, that looks like it's about smooth enough to me. Again, this is a lakeshore, not a... However, around where I'm going to put the nest, I'm going to plant bulrushes. So I want it a bit deeper. Okay. Don't be too anal about getting all the pieces out of the way. Okay, now, what we need is a piece of aluminum foil. Now, I want you to start out by making a fairly square corner on this. Okay, let me just fold this down a little bit too. Now the reason that we're using the aluminum foil instead of just pouring our resin directly into this is that resin will dissolve plastic. And what it means is that you will end up with a terrible mess and resin everywhere. You don't want that. So, oh, I see that the shininess of the aluminum foil is making this look dark. Now, open this up and make a square corner like that. Doesn't have to be absolute because be careful. Do not poke a hole in that corner. You're going to set that right in the corner like that. Okay, so the next thing to do is to get out our Lego. Just going to leave that aluminum foil for a minute. Ooh, got a lot brighter all of a sudden. And our painter's tape. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to turn that over, remembering which corner you've cut out, which I believe is this corner here. I'm just going to put 2 strips. You can see this is an exact science. So we just want 2 strips like that, so that when we turn it back over, okay, we have these strips sitting like that. I'm going to take our Lego and we're going to place it. Excuse my cough. Picked up a virus at Castine when I was down there for the guild school, and I cannot shake it. By the way, that's not a reason not to go to the guild school. Okay, so that's the start of it. Turn this back over and just put another strip of tape along here to hold it firm, like that. And there we go. Okay, now we have our base. I'm going to fit our aluminum foil into there. Now you see where you can see where the aluminum foil folds. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to carefully tear away some of this excess. Like that. Okay. Now, don't worry about your edges being absolutely snug and smooth, because as we progress with the building of this, we're going to be putting edges on all 4 sides of the gator board to actually hold our roof in place. Okay, now we take this out and we'll get out our tacky glue, and we're going to drizzle a whole bunch of it in here. There's a good scientific word for you, drizzle. Put a little bit on the edges too to hold the aluminum foil flat. Okay. Okay, try and run a bead right down close to where the Lego is without actually getting it on the Lego. Okay. Now, back to your aluminum foil. Now this is where it really counts, is smoothing it in carefully, getting it down deep into where the bulrushes are going to go. Okay. Now we've got a little bit of excess here. Let's try and... Ooh, maybe better. If you've got a pair of scissors around, you could use those to cut this. I'm just going to use my utility knife to get rid of that last little bit of junk. Okay, now I'm just going to use a piece of I'm going to use my glue spreader to get off the last of that and to apply it underneath. Now, while that's sort of drying, the thing I do absolutely the worst in miniatures is waiting for glue to dry. Now we're going to paint our entire base dirt color. So we'll just leave that to its own devices for a moment while we start painting the rest of it dirt color. Now, even though it's going to be underneath the cabin, I want to make sure I get right out to the edges. As you proceed in this, you have to remember to leave a 1/4 inch space all the way around the edge, because that will accommodate the thickness of the plexiglass. And why are we painting the base dirt color? Even though we are going to use various kinds of ground cover and textures to make this really look like a forest floor, it's easier to start with a brown floor, because then if you just miss a little tiny bit somewhere, you've still got not that horrible white showing through. We're going to do this twice, so now my glue's not dry, but that's okay. I'm going to paint in here anyway. Okay, so we're going to paint the mud bottom. And actually this is a good way to actually get make sure the aluminum foil is really down tight and stuck to the bottom of your okay. Okay, we're going to need a little bit more paint here. Ooh, I managed to get, try not to make too much of a mess. It's a good thing acrylic paint washes off, because we're going to get it all over everything here. Going to get it on the Lego, and if you like clean Lego, then you're going to want to. I'm not going to worry too much about the part that's under the cabin, but I'm going to make sure that the parts that are going to be out in the open are fairly well covered with the brown. Now again, this is not an exact science. So let's make sure you get the paint far enough up the edges of the aluminum foil. Okay. There. Now we will just let that dry.